When we think about ancient Egypt, we often imagine richly decorated tombs and bodies carefully wrapped in linen. But mummification was not a macabre ritual. For the ancient Egyptians, it was a fundamental requirement for continuing life after death. The Egyptians believed that a person was made up of several essential components. The Ka, or vital life force, needed nourishment. The Ba, the individual personality, had to be able to recognize its physical form, and the Ak, the transfigured and luminous spirit, could only exist if the other components were properly united. The body, therefore, was not a simple container, but a necessary anchor for survival in the afterlife. If the body was destroyed, the individual ceased to exist completely. For this reason, preserving the body was essential, and over time the Egyptians developed a complex funerary practice to ensure survival after death. Mummification was not uniform for all Egyptians. Practice varied greatly, depending on social status, wealth, and historical period. For pharaohs and members of the elite, mummification was a long, complex, and ritualized procedure carried out by specialized embalmers. The body underwent careful treatment using natron, oils, resins, and linen bandages, with rituals and spells accompanying every stage. After the drying process, the body was padded and shaped to restore natural proportions, ensuring that the deceased appeared complete and intact. This shaping was important so that the Ba could recognize the body as its own. The face was covered with a funerary mask, which served as the eternal image of the deceased. Officials, skilled workers, and wealthier townspeople had access to simpler forms of mummification. Some steps were shortened or omitted, fewer materials were used, and the ritual elements were more limited. Even so, the essential goal remained the same: to preserve the body sufficiently to allow continued existence in the afterlife. For poorer Egyptians, artificial mummification was often impossible. Bodies were wrapped in simple materials or buried directly in the desert sand. The hot, dry environment naturally preserved the body. These naturally preserved burials may have inspired the development of later artificial mummification techniques. The mummification process itself followed several structured stages. The body was first washed and ritually purified. Aromatics oils were applied, both to cleanse the body and to prepare it spiritually for the journey ahead. The internal organs were then carefully removed to prevent decomposition. The organs were preserved and placed in special containers known as canopic jars. There were 4 canopic jars, each protected by one of the four sons of Horus. Each jar had a lid shaped like the head of its divine protector. Imseti, with a human head lid, protected the liver. Hapi, with a baboon-headed lid, protected the lungs. Duamutef, with a jackal-headed lid, protected the stomach. And Kebech-Senuef, with a falcon-headed lid, protected the intestines. Each of these gods was also associated with a protective goddess, further strengthening the magical safeguarding of the organs. The heart was usually left inside the body, as it was considered the center of thought, memory and morality, and it would be weighted during the judgment of the dead. The brain, by contrast, was removed through the nose and was not considered essential for the afterlife. The canopic jars were placed near the mummy inside the tomb, often within a special box, ensuring that all parts of the individual remained protected and reunited in death. After the organs were removed, the body was covered in natron for several weeks. This natural salt removed the moisture and stopped decay, transforming the body into a stable, preserved form. Once dried, the body was padded with linen and other materials to restore a natural, lifelike shape. The final stage was wrapping the body in linen bandages, placing amulets between layers, and reciting protective spells. At this point, the mummy became a sacred and ritually complete being, ready to enter the afterlife. Mummification alone did not guarantee eternal life. It was a necessary condition, but not sufficient. The deceased still had to travel through the afterlife and face the monsters that are on the other side. Without an intact body, however, this journey could not even begin. The mummy functioned as a bridge between the world of the living and the world of the dead, allowing the spiritual components of the person to reunite. Egyptian mummification was not an obsession with death. It was a practice deeply focused on preserving life beyond death. By protecting the body, the Egyptians ensured that the Ka could be nourished, the Ba could recognize its physical form, and the Ak could come into existence. Only through this careful balance could the deceased truly continue to exist.